We got a very special guest in studio.
That's
right.
right.
Lazima tuongee mambo politics.
Special day it is.
It's a very special day. So remember, any questions you have, unaweza tumia hashtag Kwambox and Kev.
Actually, Sifuna on Vibes.
Oh, actually,
that's
yeah.
another hashtag
That's the hashtag
using.
we're using.
Yeah.
So welcome. Bwana Sifuna.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's my first time here.
Yeah.
I love your studios, man.
As usual.
I've been across the hall with
the boring side.
Yes, the boring side.
Akina Latif na City.
I'm looking forward to a fun time.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've been talking about having you here on the show because, you fit the demographic, when I'm saying young, so I'm a politics. Kevin, hapa, anapenda kutu drag na mambo za politics. And we thought it would be nice, especially now that things are going the way they are going, and we're planning 2022. The electorate is here listening. What are the plans for ODM?
And our tagline is actually...
But usiseme kwa drag. Ile kitu... nafaa to agree, young people cannot avoid politics because politics is not going to avoid you. So usione vibaya Kevo akikwambia from time to time you bring people who can have that conversation with our young people.
Absolutely. Lakini Kevo anatuboingi.
Yeye sana.
Yeye ubo na hii politics yake.
Si mna switch mic
Yuzi mic yake one time.
Niliambia my guys reggae will not stop. And this is a reggae station.
Hii ni station ya reggae.
All right, let's get right into it, guys. Unajua kuna watu wako na maswali nyeti hapa as in serious. I don't even know if we'll have time to complete all of them. But let's start with kuna swali moja, the most important.
Yes.
Is Baba going to be on the ballot next year?
So hiyo ni swali tutaleta Baba hapa mwenyewe umuulize.
I just want you to test the temperature how you're going to be answering questions.
Lazima umuulize yeye mwenyewe. Hata mimi nikimuuliza ananiambianga focus yake sahi ni amalize history alikuwa ameanza na president BBI. Aone how far it will go. Mwana kwa gazeti ya leo amesema yani reggae itajitokeza kwa njia mingi. Wewe mwenyewe umesema hapa kuna mpaka ulisema na wa Filipino na watu gani?
Japan.
Kuna reggae Japan.
Japan.
So ukizima hii moja ile watu wamezoea roots. Unasikia tu ingine imetokea huko side ingine.
Lakini bwana SG. Kwa papers wameandika hapo hivyo TCG ODM to pick presidential candidate next week, which is very
next
soon,
week,
a few days.
Next week is actually next week.
Unajua you are a media house lakini nataka kuambia wachane na watu wa magazeti.
Wanapotezanga watu.
Achana watu. Sasa ingine hata view soma vitu hapo kwa news zenye wanasema ni mimi nimesema mpaka na shindo sai ni aje. So hakuna hiyo pressure at all. Kuna conversation inaendelea juu ya there are some critical things lazima to put in place. Kama sahi ile conversation tuko nayo na wa Kenya ni ile dream tunataka kuona as a country as a political party. What are the things we need to do? Unajua saizi kuna conversation na tunataka kila msaa lay plan zake kwa meza and then people just look at what best works for them. So for us as a party we want to create a prosperous industrialized country that has opportunity for everyone and people live in dignity. Unajua hii kitu ya dignity watu usahau the most important thing for a human being is actually dignity. Unajua hii maisha kama juzi umeona history ya app za kuloan watu venye zinaandika
death of shame
hiyo death of shame.
That's crazy.
Yani ukikuwa first of all when mse uko broke inakuwa gani imekorob dignity mbaya. Ile kitu tu ya kwanza kuomba watu pesa wasiona kuangalia wanaona tu ni mzigo hawezi jivalisha nguo hawezi kula hawezi that is the indignity that poverty brings on people. So we must address how we put money in the pockets of people. And there's a big conversation going on. I can see all political parties are trying ways in which we can resolve these matters. But hii kitu, it is not rocket science because it has been done in other countries.
But what would you say Kwambox. What would you say is stopping? Because like me I'm an electorate. Like me nimevote more times than I care to mention. And it always seems that when it comes to like mambo development unajua hata tulikuwa tunadiscuss na Kevin maze Bezos ameenda space si bado tunaongea juu ya kuweka maji sijui kwa choo so it almost seems like the promise of development is just like dangling a fruit to the electorate. Guys, remember, things are bad, we are going to make it better. What has been there? What has been the summary?
From where we see it, we must proceed from the question, what does a young person like you now, what does Kwamboka need to succeed? You don't need us. In fact, this is the first time you're calling me to this studio. I don't know your life. You just need a government that gets out of your way for you to be able to pursue whatever it is that you want to be able to do and to facilitate things to be able to happen. You are in a studio here, for instance, if you don't have reliable electricity, how are you going to do your job? If you don't have I hear people talking about the small hustles, the mama mboga, the guys who operate kiosks. you have to ask yourself, what does that mama mboga need, by the way? Have you ever asked yourself, what does a woman who wakes up to go to Marikiti at 4 a.m. so that you can get your groceries at your local market there? What does that woman need?
I mean, she needs a place to be able to work and live.
So where does that place come from? You see, this is how you progress the argument. Where does that place come from? There are several things that I think she needs to be able to sustain her business. Number one, you need the production side where she gets the mboga, because she doesn't grow it herself. You need to work on the production side. So it is providing incentives for farmers. It is coming up with plans such as dams to provide water for irrigation in places that are dry, to make sure that we grow the arable space, the land that you can actually till. Number two, you need to address how that produce then, once he has produced it, gets to the market. You have seen very unfortunate photos in places like Elgeyo Marakwet, where a farmer has loaded his truck with fruits essentially for Nairobi, but they get stuck on the road somewhere. At the end side, this mama is waiting in Nairobi. She needs to be able to have a stall to do what? To display her wares in a place that is dignified. So whose responsibility is it, for instance, to develop agricultural models that support farmers? It is the role of central government. When we talk of these large projects like dams to be able to provide irrigation, Galana Kulalu was supposed to feed the entire country.
But I hear it fed only a few people.
It fed only a few people, and it is because of the monster of corruption. We brought in an Israeli firm to be able to essentially guide us, because Israel is a leader in turning desert into arable land. And they said that the scale of corruption they saw in Galana is unprecedented. They have never seen it anywhere in the world. Like that, So an Israeli firm, the best in the world in terms of turning land into arable land, threw up their hands, and they left.
So how are you guys going to do
so this is the conversation we're having with Kenyans, that in fact this invitation to accept bad manners as the norm is something that we should not accept. That yes, this guy is corrupt or is a thief, but at least he comes and gives us back. So the money that is required, for instance, to build markets, we are under a devolved system of government. The central government is supposed to share revenue with Nairobi County, for instance. Once that money comes to Nairobi County, the governor is supposed to now construct markets. You have seen, if you go to counties, like we're very proud of Kakamega County, there are markets across the county. It is built using money that comes from the devolved unit. And then somebody asks you, for instance, we have given a proposal that we would like to increase the share of money or revenue that goes to the counties, because that is where the bulk of these activities happen. Then somebody asks you, if we are unable to even send the current 15%, where will you get the 35%? Then you ask them, by the president's own admission, we hemorrhage 2 billion shillings a day. Like today on your show, by the time you finish the day, Kwambox, 2 billion mutu ameiba. Do you know what 2 billion is?
Yes, a lot of money.
2 billion is the annual allocation for Lamu County. In the whole year, that is what goes to Lamu County. So when we have these conversations that let us reject this business of tokenism, government can work. When you see Raila talking about improving the rural infrastructure, I'll give you a very simple example. When I had graduated from a university, we were required to go to the Kenya School of Law for a diploma in law. My folks didn't have money, but when you graduate they tell you, tumejaribu tumekufikisha hapa. Sasa hii ingine tena unatuambia, si by now tuna expect to kuwa unatupea do. Sasa we jipange. So what did I do? I got a loan of 40k from a friend. Nikanunua zile, hiyo time kuwanga na PS2. Nikaingia nayo shags. PS2 nikaeka kwa kastol hapa. Unachezesha watu hii unacharge, nilikuwa kama 1 bob per minute. So mtu kilipa 1 hour, hiyo ni 60 bob. By that time in 2006, electricity supply to Bungoma town was so unreliable. Ilikuwa inafika tu 2:30. Mawingu ikikam tu hivi kidogo ama mvua kidogo inyeshe, steam imeenda. So imagine wewe umekuja kuchezesha PS. Unategemea gava ikwanze kuondokee na ikupatie zile basic infrastructure, wakupatie reliable electricity. Unaona? So in the last few years pekee is when we have seen wametoa sasa line mpya ya bulk supply kutoka Olkaria imekuja mpaka Kisumu. Sai ukienda shags, electricity supply ni stable, hata mvua ikinyesha ipotei. So ule mse mwenye anataka kufanya hiyo biz kama photocopying, bizna ya kunywa nywele hizi makinyozi, wanategemea wewe ukiwa huku juu uko umefanya hizi vitu such that sikuhitaji ukuje huko kwa ground ati unifanyia harambe. Unaona? That is what we are trying to push our people away from.
Now let me ask this question.
Yes.
That all sounds nice. But I'm still not hearing what the difference will be. Because
yeah.
I think Kenyans are really a bunch of really bright people.
Yeah.
And why we get so invested in politics. The other day we were talking to a friend of ours from China.
Yeah.
And we're asking, are Chinese like obsessed with politics? The guy told me, knitting. You know why? Because the things work. Kenyans don't want to be involved in knowing, your middle name. They just want to know that the work is getting done, that whoever is going to run will actually get the work done. Corruption is a big problem in this country.
Yes.
And even if we change subsequent governments, that will still be the eyesore. And whoever doesn't address that particular issue and actually show us a framework of, anyone who's found in the hand in the cookie jar like China does, is punished, because that's the only way. Now, anyone can have beautiful ideas.
That is a very good issue to bring up.
Yeah.
There's only one party whose party leader has said that if elected, he will jail corrupt people. The others are talking about amnesty for the money that has been looted. These are the competing concepts that are on the table. And it is for you as Kenyans to determine whether you are ready for an amnesty, given all the money that has been stolen, that you feel that you don't want accountability. The question of accountability is a critical question in addressing the problem of corruption. Last time out, and I want to persuade you, by the way, politicians are not the same. I can tell you this for a fact. Politicians are not the same. Human beings are not the same. It's like saying radio presenters, all of you are the same.
No,
you're not the same. You're different. You come from a different perspective. There's ingredients that went into making Kwambox are not the same as the ones that went to making him. We are different human beings. There are things that are, you don't consider morally reprehensible because of the way in which you were brought up. Some of us, we were brought up in a system of pain and pleasure, depending on how you behave. Like in my household, if you were caught with sugar on your mouth, umetoka kuiba jikoni, ile kibare unakutana nayo ya madhe, that is how we are socialized. So these politicians are not the same. We are the only ones who have suggested that, in fact, without accountability, Singapore grew on the back of accountability. By the time the Prime Minister is saying, even if you are my brother and you have stolen, you're going to jail. Those accountability measures you talk about in China, people are afraid. And we're saying corruption is not something that is unique to Kenya. But even the question that we're asking, there used to be a time when 10% was okay. It was who is this that pushed the marker from now, instead of saying we want to build a road, but I'll factor in 10% for Sifuna. The road is not built. It is the entire thing disappears. When did we push the needle to 100%? That is where we get, and we're saying, how can an entire dam project disappear? How can an entire road disappear? If, for instance, someone, you have seen the speed at which the expressway is moving, it's because it's private money, so it's not public money. Kwambox, you have seen the speed with which that thing is moving. Within the next few months, you'll be using that road. If you are using the road is there, you have seen it. But then there's somebody who ate 5% of that project. You won't even notice it because the road is there. It is a fantastic project. But we are in an era where people have the audacity to disappear vast amounts of money. The best government, by the way, is the government that you do not notice. Just like they say in football. The best referee is someone who, in the game, you don't even notice that he's there. He allows the game to flow. So this is how it happens. Government must get out of your way. They must lay the infrastructure and get out of the way. And I've given young people the example. The people who run government are not as imaginative as the generations that are out there. They are not as imaginative. People didn't know you could make money out of TikTok and I can guarantee you, no member of parliament knows how to monetize IG.
I think maybe Babu, we know.
I'm telling you, he's my friend. He doesn't make money from IG. He doesn't. None of us make money from our social media followings. We don't understand that concept of monetization. They are new and fresh ideas. So when you do it, then the taxman, because government has gone into so much debt to build projects that don't give back to the economy, they are looking for every single place where there is a semblance of revenue to come and tax you. You can see the specter of sports betting in the country is dead. Before SportPesa came into this country, there was no sports betting. And the people in government did not realize the potential. Yet we have fantastic examples of how these things are run in the UK and other areas. It is a big revenue stream. So when they realize money is trickling in, then they come up with a regime to tax it. You kill the goose that lays a golden egg. because we have extended ourselves. We have borrowed so much money to build a railway that does not translate into the economic result that we wanted.
Yeah.
So we would like to build a government under ODM that does not focus unnecessarily on infrastructure that then does not give back to the country. The question has always to be, when you build a road from point A to B, what is the economic impact of that road? Are we going to see the results? If you build a railway, some of these things are very shameful, and Kenyans don't want to discuss them. Dar es Salaam is building a railway, I think, from Dar to Dodoma or someplace. Is it Mwanza? It is electrified. It is at a fraction of the cost that we build ours. Yet ours is an embarrassment because it is a diesel trains there. And yet the picture that was presented to us when this project was being conceived is like the fast trucks that we see in Europe and in other places.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
And this one is Boniface Mwangi actually wrote an article in the paper, and he was saying, there's a Kenya we imagine, but do we have the citizens? Because I mean, it's easy to point a finger at politicians and say, we're corrupt, but look at the citizens. Is this something? Because it's easy to focus on policy, it's easy to focus on how to run this country economically, but look at the people. There's also a broken society, socially, morally. Are these some of the things that ODM discusses?
By the way, for us, we don't lay the blame too much on the people, because you see, you are only as knowledgeable as the things to which your mind has been opened to, exposed to. You know the story of the Israelites. When they were being told, by the way, there is a land of milk and honey somewhere. It is difficult for them to visualize. At that time, they were insulting their leaders. Kina Moses telling them, you guys, mungetuacha Egypt, tulikuwa tumezoea maisha yetu, mnakuja kutupigisha raundi hapa kwa desert. Mnatuambia juu ya hiki tu yenye it's utopian. When we talk about a country that actually works for everyone, it is very difficult for people to see. People are by nature very selfish, that we think about ourselves first, and that for as long as I am comfortable, Kwamboka, you are by all accounts the middle class in this country. You're able to get a nice apartment in Kilimani, you're able to get a nice C200, you drive to work, you have a salary. You really don't care about the discussion of the society, because we have been removed from that discussion of a communal society. So when we talk about the country that we would like to create, yes, Kenyans are also to blame for not insisting that we can actually be better. But it is also incumbent upon the leadership to actually show them that these things can work, that we can have a society that works for all of us. And until we have a leadership, that will sit down and say, okay, what has been happening has happened. We are not this is not who we are. That we want to shift this focus of the country from individual growth and wealth and gratification to building a society where everybody has a fair opportunity. Until the leadership can demonstrate that, it is very difficult for Kenyans to envisage. It is true that there are arguments such as the ones that Boni is making, that in fact we Kenyans ourselves encourage this bad behavior. But that is why you see some of us, we are pushing so hard against this narrative of tokenism. That really just have a leader who will facilitate your ability to do what you want with your life. Don't depend on that person to come at he has for instance not done anything on the ground in terms of infrastructure to support your hustle, but then he comes and gives you the cash. There is another example that has been given with the churches. Back then, churches essentially used to be built by the congregants themselves, and they would take time to raise money, funds here and there, and they build the church themselves. When that building is complete, there is ownership. There is ownership. So who are these congregants? They are your regular teachers, the regular
the community
around. So where do those people get money? I'll give you the example of a place like Bungoma. We had a thriving sugar mill there called Nzoia Sugar. By the way, if Nzoia Sugar alone is allowed to operate and we are able to compete favorably with the other industries in sugar production, the people of Bungoma don't need anything else. They don't need anything else. Back then, you plant cane, after 18 months it is harvested, you get enough money to be able to pay school fees for all your children, to panga yourself the whole year, and to wait for the next harvest. the roads are maintained by the company and so on and so forth. So those are the people, those are the farmers who go to contribute to make churches, right?
Yeah.
Then there are these bosses sitting in Nairobi.
Politicians mostly.
Yes, who determine that these farmers don't really count. I can make a call because I have international networks to a ship that is in the high seas. They bring in sugar at a cheap nini. I sell it to the market. I am the one who makes all the profit. The nini there, Nzoya sugar there is on his knees. It dies.
Yeah.
But then when we are constructing the church, instead of these farmers coming now with sufficient money to build the church, I parachute in from Nairobi with all the money from the imported sugar.
Yeah.
And I can contribute 10 times what these people, the entire church can do.
Yeah.
So if their collection on a Sunday is a mere 100,000, I have come with 10 million.
Wow.
And then I am idolized. They say, yes, now this is the guy. That is what we want to depart from. We want to be able to build a society where people can actually go back to that communal ability to be able to lift themselves out of poverty.
Now, I want us to change the direction, because I can see a lot of the comments coming in. And guys, I'm trying to factor in your comments and your questions as we continue this conversation. Now, I want to talk about 2022 politics and the by-elections that have been happening, and the marriage and NASA yenye, the different people in the marriage are complaining, you know, saying that they got the wrong end of the stick. I'd love to hear from you.
Vibes Radio.
Remember, hashtag Kwambox and Kev, hashtag Sifuna on Vibes.
Kevoski over here. So guys, come on, kuna swali hapa hivyo, hit us up also, SMS line 40131. Bwana SG, we have to now talk about party politics. Nimengoja mazei Devi ba sana. Let's talk about
party members. Party member.
Yeah, manze. So let's talk about the merger between ODM and Jubilee. My guys wanasema, first of all, Baba alikuwa on, he was on TV, he was saying how he doesn't need anyone's support. He's been going it alone and he's performed really well. But ukiangalia merger, clearly, this is political, and obviously the president will have to support him because that's his party. Jubilee is the president's party, right? So we're asking, what does this mean for the potential of ODM regrouping with NASA and forming a formidable coalition?
Kwanza hakuna maja. Unajua kuna difference ya maja na coalition. Maja inamaanisha tuvunje ODM, tuvunje Jubilee alafu tuunde party mpya. Coalition inamaanisha kila party inabaki vile iko, alafu mnafahamu mnaandikisha na coalition agreement. So zile discussions tuko nayo na Jubilee ni za coalition agreement, si za maja. So ODM itabaki ODM, alafu Jubilee itabaki Jubilee. So hizi discussions, unajua saa hii tumeingia election cycle. 2022 sasa imefika. Political parties saa hizi zinajiprepare zione namba zao vile wanaweza kuzishow up.
Exactly.
So tumesema kila mtu akuwe na hiyo uhuru. Even the constitution guarantees the right of association. You can pick and choose friends at will. And what we are doing is for purposes of the 2022 election, which is to mean we will respect current agreements. I have this coalition agreement here with me, NASA. It states very expressly that it will expire at the expiry of the term of this current parliament. So ikishaisha, uwezi kaa ukingojea the parliament expires 3 months to the election. Sasa uwezi kaa ukingojea atiishe ndio uanze kujipanga.
Lakini kuna members wengine kwa hiyo coalition wanasema, what Kalonzo na Mudavadi wanasema, you're not honoring the agreement. Kwani wao kuna agreement nyingine?
Sasa hiyo ndio huwa tunashindwa. By the way, ningependa sana mu invite hapa. Na wapatie niwaachie hii copy ya coalition agreement. Alafu muwaulize kama kuna ingine. I think that is where we need to begin. Kwanza tusikizane. Are this the entire documents of a coalition? Ndio tuanze kuongea. Juu hata juzi tumeandikia registrar tukamwambia, mbona watu wanaongea juu ya vitu yani inafanya inakani kama NASA ilikuwa a clandestine organization, kuna ati vitu tulisikizana huku chini ya maji hakuna. This coalition agreement is a public document kwa sababu hata wewe sasa ukitaka ukienda kwa registrar unaweza chukua kopi yako useme nipatieni kopi ya agreement ya NASA, because we are publicly funded political parties and we are accountable to the public. So wamekuwa wakisema we don't honor the agreement, yet hawataki kukuambia ukiwaita hapa sahi waulize ni clause gani hii yenye wamebreach. Unaona, wanaenda wakiambia watu ati ODM imekataa kuwapatia pesa yao. So hii question ya pesa tumeexplain mpaka yani saizi tumechoka, but tutaendelea tu kwa sababu lazima unajua tukipata independence tulisema lazima tupigane na ujinga na tupigane na
lakini
sasa tutaendelea kupambana na ujinga.
Kula the largest chunk na simu kuna coalition.
Siwache sasa ni kuexplain venye ido ina kama. Kwanza kuqualify kupata ido chama lazima ikuwe na vitu fulani. Lazima ukuwe na 20 members of the National Assembly. Ukuwe na 3 senators, 3 governors na 40 MCAs. Ukuwe able kuqualify kwanza. Using that criteria, kuna party mbili pekee zimequalify. It was in recognition the fact that our coalition partners are small parties and that probably they will not be able to meet that threshold. That is why there is an agreement on sharing of the political parties fund. Let us begin there. They actually recognize that their stature, their standing, their support across the country will probably not make them hit that threshold.
Right.
So once you qualify, then the registrar now has X amount of money. Say she receives 1 billion shillings to distribute between the qualifying parties. So using that criteria, there are only 2 parties that qualify, ODM and Jubilee, right? Now, to divide the money now between ODM and Jubilee, this is the criteria. You take all the votes that have been received by that party, by the presidential candidate, senators, governors in total, and then you just apportion it according to the ratio. So if ODM, the totality of our candidates, everybody we ran from president to MCA received maybe 10 million votes and Jubilee got 12 million votes, you apportion that in terms of a ratio, such that Jubilee will get X and ODM will get Y. Now, our coalition partners, their claim under this agreement is that portion that comes from the presidential election. Because we have given the presidential candidate as ODM, yes, but the support is also coming from other political parties. Umenielewa hapo? So inatakiwa pesa yenye iko shareable. Na ukisoma hii agreement, the only amount of money that is shareable is now the money that comes from the presidential election, because they can claim rightly that they contributed votes to Raila Odinga in 2013 and in 2017, right? These other positions, like governor, like senator, like women rep, like MCAs, they cannot lay a claim for 2 reasons. Number one, they refused for the coalition to have joint nominations so that we have one candidate for each position. When I ran for Senate in Nairobi, I had a wiper opponent. I got 700,000 votes, he got almost 60,000 votes. That is taking away from the money we would have gotten during the split between us and Jubilee. In Langata, we lost Langata constituency, sitting room ya baba. Tulipoteza kwa sababu walikataa joint nominations. So Nixon Korir alishinda candidate wa ODM na kura 1,000. Meanwhile, candidate wa Wiper alipata 5,000 votes. Unaona? So ile pesa ilikuwa shareable, ni pesa ya presidential vote. Haya, tukaenda kotini. Si kila mtu anajua presidential vote ilienda kotini. Supreme Court ikasema hizo results ni null and void. Akasema kuwe na repeat, we didn't participate in the repeat. So the registrar of political parties, when she's computing which amount of money to give to the political parties, she doesn't use the votes from the August 8th election because they were nullified by the Supreme Court. She uses the repeat election, which we did not participate. So then the question becomes, what is the amount of money that ODM receives by virtue of the presidential vote that these people can rightly claim? It is 0, Kwamboka.
Wow, because it was nullified.
It was nullified.
So now you've clarified that.
So what they are saying, you see the money that we receive right now is for the 700,000 votes Sifuna received as a senator. It is for the MCA votes. It is for the votes that we received, all our candidates from top to bottom. And we had opponents from these other political parties. So they want our money. It is not theirs.
Okay.
And we are saying, it is not bad to want somebody else's money, but you have to be nice to them.
Wow. So we're going to move from that one. Last election, Baba was very clear about this, what do you call it? This presidency, this government is corrupt. State was a high critical opponent of this government. Jubilee government. Then to see, after the handshake, things changed. We're even seeing Baba, checking out some of the projects that he's basically the president's best friend. So it begs that question of, but I thought you said they were the bad ones. Why are you joining them?
Yeah, now, you see, peace is made not between friends, but between enemies. And sometimes you have to recognize that there are greater values than your personal interest. Kwamboka, I'll give you the example of what has happened in Israel.
Yeah.
Israel went into almost, I think, 4 elections in the space of 12 months.
Yeah.
That was resulting in a stalemate all the time. The coalition that was put together to finally put out Benjamin Netanyahu from power was a coalition of people who could not sit on a table the way we are seated like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know the politics of Palestine and Israel. You can imagine people from the extreme Palestinian sides sitting together with extreme people from the Jewish side and deciding that for the sake of the country, because we can't have these election cycles going on and on, we are going to have a coalition to push our country forward.
Yeah.
It is the same thinking that goes into the cooperation we now have with the president. We realized, yes, we are opponents. And by the way, it was just a handshake. It was not a baptism. You know, it's only a baptism that results in new beings. We are not saying that Uhuru Kenyatta is a new being. We have not said that now there is no corruption in government. We continue to call out corruption in government. And even the president himself has admitted that it is an existential threat. I told you, he told us he loses 2 billion shillings a day. Now, by his own accounts, you see, you must go back to even the conversation that was there before this handshake. We had been pushed to a position where people were talking openly about secession. You remember that?
Yes.
We had maps that had essentially been drawn up of the 2 states and even flags and so on and so forth. These 2 leaders realized that they were not going to allow that to happen under their watch. It is something that weighs heavily on the conscience of somebody like Raila. I know it for a fact. There are extreme voices even in ODM. But Raila is always there to temper them. If he just listened to some of us, we would be stuck in the trenches up to today. But this is what it takes to be a leader. Sometimes you will do something that probably the flock doesn't understand.
I believe you, but isn't that working against Raila when it comes to his messaging? Because I now,
don't think so.
if you look at what Raila stood for, his ideologies was social justice, kupigania the common man, right? But now it seems like Ruto is doing that. So there's kind of a confusion when it comes
Ruto
to
is not
messaging.
doing that. Ruto is the source of the problems. You cannot be the source of the problems, then you come and articulate the solutions. What has changed is the way we engage. You know, people are used to hard-hitting statements from a platform in Tononoka. The president responds in Nyeri. What has happened now is that it is possible for us to have that conversation. And I will give you a very specific and simple example. Jubilee, after this arrangement, decided to seat some leadership of certain very critical committees in parliament that were not ours. Right now, Honorable Gladys Wanga, who's a member of ODM, is the chair of the finance committee. So what does she do as an ODM member who knows about social justice? Proposals come from Treasury that we are going to increase taxes on baby formula, on borders, on maize flour. And she knows that her SG is a Muluya, na ukishika ugali umetumaliza. So what does she do in her capacity as a chairperson and a person from the opposition party? She puts a stop to that. She says, we are not going to increase taxes on these essential commodities. That is ODM at work. We have the chairmanship of the Parliamentary Accounts Committee under Honorable Pio and I. They have come up with legislation now to limit the amount of money that the central government can borrow without parliamentary approval. It is not just singing about, oh, we need to do something about debt. We are doing something about debt. 2 months ago, there was a proposal to increase fuel further. The SG of ODM, who is me, we issued a statement and we said we cannot allow for more taxation to go on fuel products.
We saw that.
You saw it and you are saying here, why can't you say you saw it? Wait, if you are saying you saw it, why are you saying that we have changed?
Because the people...
We have not changed, because for 2 months straight now, the government had to find a way to compensate oil marketers, but not to increase the burden on you. If I had stayed silent then, if ODM had kept quiet then, your criticism would be founded.
Honestly, I'm telling you, Sheila, when we do the show here, people call us. I want to say, the way it seems right now, Raila Amolo Odinga, Baba, the one and only who's been fighting for our rights, kama mtu wa kawaida. It seems he's in a marriage with the elites.
You should ask those people. You should ask those people. You see,
they say Baba's changed.
Listen, even at the height of his fight, you know, everybody knows he is the right person to be in leadership, but they don't give him that leadership and then expect him to be the person to fight against the people that you actually elected. I have given this analogy that when you have a watchdog at home, you have a dog at the gate, Sindio? That dog will see you walk hand in hand with a thief. Will that dog back?
Of course.
It will not.
It won't.
It has seen you, and it has seen you holding the hand of a thief.
Yeah.
Okay.
You are the one who's opened the door for the thief. You
Wow.
cannot then come and say, why is the dog not barking?
Right,
It is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
what we are saying,
Yeah.
there is another opportunity in another 12 months. Please hand over the instruments of power, not the instruments of criticism, not the instruments of holding power to account.
Yeah.
Hand over the instruments of power to the people who you have traditionally depended upon to stand up for you.
So you're saying Baba is going to be at the ballot?
ODM is going to have a presidential candidate.
But are we,
I see.
Yeah.
We're coming back. Any questions you have, remember to use the hashtag Kwambox and Kev. Me, I want to ask, why is BBI so important? We're coming back.
Vibes Radio.
So guys, to go on the hashtag Sifuna on Vibes.
Yeah, man.
Very, very engaging conversation. I love pia tunachiki my guys up over on our hashtag Kwambox and Kev. We're asking serious questions.
Maswali ni
We're
more.
going to throw them to Bona SG in just a bit.
Yeah,
right?
but I want us to start with BBI.
Yeah.
Why is ODM very, why is it so important to change the constitution?
Well, first of all, BBI is just a conversation. It is a conversation about, how we can better our stock. You go back to the process of getting a new constitution that began from 2002 all the way to the referendum in 2005. The Bomas process.
Yeah.
We in ODM believe that the product of that Bomas process was the best expression of the desires of Kenyans.
Yeah.
And you'll remember that the Bomas draft itself, it had many, many things that were slashed out. This issue, for instance, of the parliamentary system of government was what Kenyans chose at the Bomas process.
Yeah.
Kenyans in Bomas said they wanted a prime minister who was elected by members of parliament. They wanted cabinet secretaries to be in parliament so that you can account directly to the representatives of the people, as opposed to the current presidential system where it's just the committee chairman who receive questions and then they have to look for the minister and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So we will always have this desire to go back to what we believe was the greatest expression of the desires of Kenyans.
But
And
is
that
this
is
the
what is
time? It
Bomas
seems like
process.
if you ask Kenyans on ground, like, bro, we just went through, we are still deep in the heart of a pandemic. People have lost their jobs. I mean, it just seems like in bad taste to be pushing something.
I think the problem is that we allowed so much propaganda to be directed at this process because, as I say it, it is just a conversation. We did not take away doctors from hospitals who are attending to people who have COVID to go and do what? To go and do BBI. No. We as a country should be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. If there is, like now we are in studio here, Kwamboka, we are just having a conversation. We are not stopping the renovations that are going on in
But do you know how many rallies went down? And then do you know how much money was spent on this conversation? This happens to be the most expensive conversation.
That is the question. Because even if I ask you how much money was spent on BBI,
Niliambiwa 10 billion.
Uliambiwa.
Yeah.
That's what I'm telling you.
Niliona
We allowed
ground.
so much propaganda to be directed.
Yeah.
And sometimes the outrage that we see that is directed at political processes is very dishonest and disproportionate because Kenyans like a scapegoat. Kenyans like somebody to blame, especially when things are as bad as they are.
Right.
People will look and say, these people are the cause of this problem. Yet, the cause of the problem is right in front of you. Let's take, for instance, I know for a fact the BBI expenditure was nowhere near that money that they're talking about. But let us even take that 10 billion that you're talking about. Would you say the outrage that is directed at the use of that 10 billion is the same as the outrage that was directed at the loss of 60 billion in Kimwaror and Aror Dam?
No.
Is it the same?
We'll get
No,
to
no,
Kimwaror.
No, that's the question I'm
The dam
asking.
will get to it. But at 10 billion
first of all,
alone.
we are saying we should be outraged.
Yeah.
We should be outraged
Yeah.
at any loss of public funds and
Yeah,
be
yeah.
directed at anything, right? But this is 10 and this is 60. Should it be proportionate outrage or should one be even higher?
At a one bob.
The
We
latter.
have outrage because I'm a
the
taxpayer.
question I'm asking you.
Yeah.
You were there,
Yeah,
Kwamboka.
yeah.
Was the outrage directed at the loss in the dams project the same as what we are talking about?
No.
Is it discussed as much as the
No.
BBI?
No,
You know why?
Because-
Because in Kimwaror, Mimi, personally, see at us you point the direction where the dam is going to be nini. I'm just like, damn man, you guys lost a lot of money. But BBI is a national conversation. It affects each and every single Kenyan. We're told that this process went to Kenya.
That is where you are wrong.
Yeah.
That is where you are wrong. Those projects like Kimwaror and Aror are national projects. And the loss of 60 billion there, it affects you directly. Because this is how government now starts looking for you and your M-Pesa statements
Yes.
to be able to plug in the deficit we have because
Yeah.
money is being hemorrhaged. managed.
Yeah.
So what we are saying is BBI was a conversation. I want to say here on Vibes that it is not a matter of life and death for ODM.
Right.
It is just a conversation. That in fact, if the courts say that we cannot proceed, we will move on so fast, you people will be shocked. Because people think that we are invested so much.
Yeah.
I will give you the reason why we are not as invested as you people think.
Okay.
It is a conversation.
Yeah.
There are things that we wanted. I presented to the BBI committee what the wish list for ODM. If you look at that wish list, there's almost 60% of the things that we wanted that we did not get.
Right.
And it is because we understood that it is a consultative give and take. That it is not just a conversation with yourself. There are other people with other ideas. We were talking about resolving some long-standing issues with our constitution. For instance, if you have a woman leader seated here, they will tell you they would like to see the question of the gender balance in Parliament to be addressed. We have gotten to a place where the Chief Justice has written to the President to resolve Parliament because this question has not been resolved. Now, it is a national question on the table. Then people come up with ideas. They ask us, as leaders, how can we resolve this? We as ODM had proposed a different system of election called the proportionate representation. It works very well in South Africa, where you don't cast a ballot for an individual candidate. You cast a ballot for a political party. That political party will present a list of the people who will stand elected should it get 100% of the vote. So that list follows what they call a zebra system, that if you have number 1 is a man, number 2 will be a woman, number 3 a man, like that. What it does, it guarantees that the houses of parliament will be 50-50. It doesn't matter how you people vote. Yeah. So that is what we put on the table. We did not get that. They went with a hybrid, a mixed member proportionate representation system, is what is proposed in the BBI document. It's a conversation, Kwambox.
Okay.
The question is on the table. How do you, for instance, empower our young people to be able to sustain their business and so on and so forth? Somebody came up with the idea that we can give tax breaks to young people. We can give timelines or grace periods within which they can incubate their businesses, so that by the time you're coming to tax them, these are people you can actually tax. So when one of your viewers was saying here that it is BBI was to ensure that certain bosses retained, I am telling you, the proposal, for instance, to pump an extra 35% into the counties. That money was not going to Raila Odinga. The people at the counties who are going to get these services are not the rich. When you look at our constitution, we have aspirational rights. Like now we were just discussing with you here the issue of clean water. It is a constitutional right you have to access clean water. But it is one thing to say it in a document. It is a totally different thing to have it on the ground. Women are still walking thousands of kilometers just to get drinkable water and water for domestic use. So in the BBI, we had proposed a specific fund to address those 4 rights that have remained aspirational for a long time. Your right to water, your right to education, your right to health. It is aspirational in the document, but there is no fund to actualize it. So we have put a specific fund in the BBI called a Ward Development Fund, whose sole purpose is to put money at the grassroots level to build dispensaries, to provide drinking water for their residents and so on and so forth. How is that a conversation on wealth of
we have to move past BBI. I want us to go to the phone lines and pick a few phone calls. But I think it's important to also ask, as we go into this next election, is there a possibility of a Ruto-Raila collaboration?
Well, you know, they say that in politics, stranger things can happen. But the way that the land is laid out right now, it is that it is something that is not on the table as of now. Because when you go into an election, you have your own path, you have your own ideas, and I can say here for a fact that the ideas that are being proposed by the Deputy President are diametrically opposed to the ideas that we have. That we are not going to front load handouts, that we are not going to have a government that directly comes to give you money. No, we want a facilitative government. We want a government that is free of corruption. We want a government that addresses the interests of all Kenyans across the country. And that is not the view that is being put forward by the Deputy President. By the way,
SG. Fair enough. I mean, I also don't think Baba would actually work with Ruto. But let's go back to BBI. if at all it sails through, because now the document is in court, obviously, you know, the process is going on. But if at all it doesn't sail through the court process, what are the options that you left with? Because Baba sounds pretty confident that reggae will be back.
This is a conversation. We're just saying you can always restart a conversation in a new atmosphere, devoid of the propaganda that we have seen, devoid of all the negative energy that has been directed at the process. Just those ideas will be discussed. How is it bad to have a discussion on increasing allocation or to of revenue to the counties, or to increase the number of women in parliament, or to have specific funds for us to be able to realize the Article 43 rights? How is it a bad conversation?
It's definitely not a bad conversation.
So maybe the timing was off.
Wrong,
the way that Kwambox puts it, because we were in the midst of a pandemic. What the pandemic does is that it makes people to lose income and jobs, and they become angry. The people who take advantage of an angry mass, you know, when you make a decision when you are angry, that decision more often than not is not the correct decision. People need to calm down and be objective about the discussions that we were having. If we can be able to have that discussion in an environment devoid of the propaganda, I am sure that probably.
But it would definitely affect the timings, especially as we approach the election. Would you be open to postponing the elections?
No, personally, as a party and as the SG of a party, we have not discussed the possibility of us postponing the election. We would want for Kenyans to have an opportunity to refresh the leadership as set in the constitution.
Guys, call us up 0719-012-700. Any questions you have, you can also use the hashtag Kwambox. Okay, we're going to take just a few phone calls as we wrap up. Do you trust last election? Of course, there was a lot of disgruntled members or from your party who felt like the IBC didn't really handle the thing well. IBC is still going to be the one handling elections. Are you confident?
Well, it is not us who said that they did not handle it well. It is the Supreme Court, which is the authority on what happened in the election. It is something that you have to acknowledge, that there were challenges and there were problems. That in fact we moved from the election in 2007. We had this Kriegler report that proposed certain things to be put in place, including the use of technology for us to ensure that at least we have a credible election. The problem has never been the technology. The problem has always been the people. Are the people willing to be able to deliver a credible process? Now, we currently are undergoing a process of recruitment of new commissioners at the IBC to replace the ones that left. Unfortunately, there is nothing that can guarantee you that a human being will act to your expectations when they get into office. Human behavior is something that is very difficult to predict. But we are saying we should be able to have laws and systems that, if followed, for instance, if the law requires that when you are declaring results, you send the text message of the numbers together with a photographic evidence of the form. Why would a human being refuse to do that if it is not for nefarious purposes? We are very happy with some of the pronouncements that have come from the Commission this time round, that in fact they should be able to allow media houses to be present in polling stations during the declaration of results. Because you know, in other places like in the US, it is the media houses that call elections. It is, you hardly even know who is the electoral commission in the US. And this is something that has been in existence in the law. If you want transparency, allow media houses to be able to tally results. If I have seen the capacity of the Standard Group, for instance, you have these young men with live views across the country. They can be able to cover all the 40,000 polling stations. And then they tabulate results, because the shenanigans happen in the transmission of results. These days it's very difficult for you to stuff ballot boxes. It is very difficult. So what usually happens is that the ballots that go into the box, they are very credible until the point of counting, until the point of tallying and transmission of the presidential result. That is where the problem comes.
So you believe in the systems that are
in the system that we have set. We cannot vouch for the behavior of the people who will be put in office.
Are you down for some questions?
Yeah, I'm down for some questions.
All right, guys, call us up 0719-012-700. Let's go to the phone lines. Good morning, tunaongea na nani?
Good morning, Kwambox.
Yes.
This is Mudo wa Kenya.
Nyundo.
Mudo wa Kenya.
Yes.
You know, we've seen you on Twitter. What's your question?
And my question is, like, why does Edwin Sifuna and the other ODM members think that it's so right that we have a constitution amendment plan in between a corona crisis, upcoming elections, and a falling economy? And then, like, I am not for the BBI for whatever reason, because, like, I heard them say that the youth will be allowed years after campus, they start paying your help. And that means basically that you are preparing us psychologically to stay jobless for 4 years before we start earning.
Okay.
And something else, the court declared the whole process illegal, you see? I don't even understand where they get the guts to defend what the court calls illegal in the eyes of Kenyans, and we know that no one is above the law, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then they are here telling us that this is the right way, and then the court is telling us that these people are fooling you. We can't agree with that.
All right. Nyundo?
And then another thing, like, they have been telling us that BBI is going to change the country, and then I'm like, the very same people that telling us about BBI are the people in government. What are you really doing that can prove to us if we allow you to rule by your way? You know BBI is your way. So that you can tell us that maybe you're going to do this and that for us. What are you doing that can prove to us that you have a lot in store for us? I think we can talk.
All right. I got it. Thank you so much. I think tumepata swali lako. I think which partially you had answered, but the last part is, I think you can reiterate on that. Guys, call us up 0719012700. Let's take a few more phone calls before I give you a chance to respond. Freddie.
Hello, ni aje?
Fiti.
Niko na swali moja kwa Sifuna hapo. Unajua ama politician kuna belief, natural belief tuko nayo. Unajua ni kubonga tu, alafu wakisha electiwa hakuna kitu wanasemanga hapo wakisha electiwa. Sana namuuliza vile mmemuita hapo hivyo ana defend nini party yake. Sasa sema president amesha electiwa kutoka hiyo party yake. Wananchi waseme hakuna kitu wanafanya, alafu Kwambox na Kevo hapo wamuite tena. Anaweza kuja hapo kweli?
Asante sana
Freddie there, share his thoughts. Freddie, actually remember yesterday atakuja. Good morning. All right, call us up. I think we'll just go with those two questions for now as we
start.
Wacha kwanza nianze na Freddie. Unajua sisi hatuogopangi.
Anaitwa Freddie.
Sisi huwa hatuogopi. You should be able, unajua kitu rahisi sana kwa hii life ni kudefend ukweli.
It's true.
Ukikuwa unakuja studio kudefend uongo, ndio unakutanga watu wana struggle. Mimi huwa na enjoy sana hata nikikuja hapa naulizwa maswali because these things I believe them. I believe them to be the truth. So vile tulianza niliwaambia politicians sio the same. Wanasema ukielectiwa hakuna kitu unaenda kufanya. Hapana. Unajua tuko na hiyo system ya accountability yenye inatakiwa zile promises zenye mtu alimake lazima mumuulize kabla waitishe kitu ingine. Mumuulize hii ulitu promise na hamjafanya. Which is a good conversation to have even with Fedi kwa sababu kuna watu wanazunguka huko mtaani wakiwa promise vitu na ukweli wa mambo ni kwamba wako gava saizi wangekuwa able kufanya hizo vitu zote. Hivi vitu mnaambiwa bottoms up economy. After 8 years kwa nini mtu hajafanya? Tulipromisiwa mastadi vijana wangekuwa wanapiga ball saizi. Hata tungekuwa sisi umeona watu wamehost Euro juzi. Pia sisi tungehost hata tuona.
Mimi niko na mtu yako class 1 sasa namwambia
ile laptop hiyo sahau Kwambox. Wewe enda tu ununue yako umpatie because ile story utapigiwa. So ile kitu tunataka ni watu wakuwe held to account. Inatakiwa jamaa wakikuja hapa kabla mtu akupromise kitu ingine. So mimi ile confidence niko nayo ni juu ODM haijawahi kukua ati na presidential tumechukua urais. Hatujawahi kuwa in control of government fully. But hata ile time yenye tulikuwa na ile nusu mkate kuna vitu zenye tunajivunia sana, ideas zenye tulipropose forward, watu wanasema hiyo gava ilikuwa the best. Na ni kwa sababu ya contribution ya party yetu. Haya, tukienda kwa Nyundo, yeye alikuwa na maswali mingi. Alisema kwanza hii issue ya Helbert ina prepare watu psychologically kukuwa unemployed. Unajua wacha tuongee vitu za real. Mimi niliwaambia sisi kwetu si ati tulikuwa masongo. Nikikam Nairobi University pia mimi nilipewa help. Unaona? Na ile idea tuko nayo kwa sababu tume experience hizi vitu. We imagine nilikuwa hizo time umemaliza university, si ndio? Unatafuta job. Hujapata job. Tulikuwa tunalalanga na simu chini ya pilo juu unajua ofisi inaweza kupigia saa yote wa kuita interview. So unajua ulikuwa ukiona zile 020 unafurahi unafikiria ni ni ofisi wanakuita ka interview. Then unasikia ati ni msee wa help bana. Unamuuliza we boss bana, kwani umesikia nimepata nini ndio uanze kunidai hii pesa? So ile proposal ilikuwa na hii proposal haikutoka kwa wanasiasa. Unajua niliwaambia hii BBI ilikuwa conversation ya watu wengi. Nikikupatia full list ya watu walikuja kuparticipate kwa hiyo kitu. Kuna Council of Elders za sijui communities gani, kuna beekeepers. Watu walikuwa wanakuja na idea zao wao peke yao. So vijana wenyewe walikuja wakasema, honestly speaking, nipe time bwana. Nipe time nipate job. Nipate hata ka SQ place naishi. Nikwe stable kidogo ndio uanze kuniitisha hii pesa. I actually felt it myself. Mimi help walikuwa wanaongeza interest kwa loan yako every time when wanasema ume default na hauna job, si tumekataa kulipa. Hauna job. So hiyo kitu anaongea hivyo labda kwa sababu kupitia na hajawahi kukuwa na deni hao watu hawajui. Haya, akasema hii story court imesema ni illegal. Unajua hatujakataa, high court ilisema kulikuwa na illegalities kwa hiyo process. But court system yetu inatuallow mtu ukishakatiwa kesi mahali fulani unaweza appeal.
Of course.
So ile conversation iko sahi ni kwa sababu kesi iko court of appeal. Na tumesema hapa sahi for ODM it is not life and death. Kama court itasema hii kitu isimame, itasimama. But there are other ways of continuing this conversation, which is what the party leader was saying. That in fact these good ideas, these conversations, when we see, for instance, watukosoe watuambie there was a problem with the process here and here and here and here, you go back to the drawing board because there were good ideas in BBI. Not everything was bad. If the process was bad, it doesn't necessarily mean that the product that we were selling was bad. We will have that conversation again. Ya mwisho alisema watu wako kwa serikali, I think hiyo nimegusia. Watu kwa gavana wanakuja kuambia sijui nini na nini, badala wafanye hizo vitu sahihi. Mtu wenye alichaguliwa president na deputy president ni Uhuru na Ruto. Sisi mulisema tulianguka. Sasa sisi kazi yetu ni kujipanga next time, tujaribu kuwaingiza box. Tuone kama ideas zetu waingiza box.
Lakini mbona watu ufikiria raha wako in government?
Sasa hiyo ndio shida kubwa yenye tuko nayo hiki.
Wanasema when you walk birds of a feather.
First of all, baba ni mkubwa wa infrastructure Afrika mzima wa AU. Akienda kufungua damu huko Masinga ama huko Kambani, ameenda in his capacity as ni job yake. Number 2, he is a retired prime minister. He's a former prime minister. There are benefits that come from being a former prime minister or a former vice president. Kalonzo anapatiwa security ya serikali because of he is a former vice president. Mpaka sasa ukienda kwa Kibaki, he is a retired president. Si kuna askari wanalinda nyumba. Si kuna cheska yake ya kumfungulia barabara. Lakini maanisha kwa serikali. Those things are benefits na zilipitishwa na bunge, representatives ya wananchi.
So he's not like deputy president anafanya tu role yake.
He's not. And then by the way, when you have unajua kuna ile when you have a country, you tap into all the resources in your country to be able to advance. Kama sasa hizi ideas zenye wewe unataka kuniambia president akikwama anatafuta ideas kama wewe Kwamboka. Unataka kuniambia ukipata 10 minutes na Uhuru, huwezi mwambia yako kitu yenye itasaidia hata industry tu yenu.
Niko na vitu mob.
Uko na vitu mob za kusema, si ndio? Sasa wacha nikuulize. Leo Uhuru akiamua anaanza consult Kwambox every week. When ni deputy president,
atapeleka interest.
Unajua kwa sababu sasa hivi hakuna deputy.
Kama una create value.
Na mimi sina shida.
Kama una create value Kwambox, and the biggest resource of any nation is the human resource. If I don't sit down and talk to you guys,
your best guys,
you give perspective. Unaona, unaweza kukua wewe uko na ile tunnel vision tu umejifungia huko atimini SG wa chama. Ingia mtaa uongee na maboys, ongea na watu kwa different industries, watakupatia perspective ya vitu zenye hujaona.
Speaking of perspective,
let's get to end hii conversation lazima ishe.
No, I have an important question I have to ask SG. Hold on. Abu focus hapa tu kidogo. Unajua unakumbuka ile deshi lile ulienda Kenyatta Market? Alafu ule mguest, ule mguest alikushoti. Abu just refresh my memory.
Time ya BBI kuna chali walikuwa nilikuwa Kenyatta Market kunikishuka braids zangu pretty. So chali wenyewe kama hapo alikuwa na book ya signatories za BBI. Now I just sat there and I watched how he was carrying out the nini. The guy who had the book hakuwa naelewa.
Yeah.
Ajui kitu yote ya BBI. Ametuma tu collect signature. Na wenye ana collect signature kutoka amemwambia weka sahihi hapa, weka sahihi hapa. So there was no education going on. And so when I asked some tough questions, of course akaanza kunitukana. And we realized that, you know, part of some of these processes leave Kenyans more, I think, confused.
Angry. And that's why my question to you was, do you think, honestly speaking, Bon SG, there was enough public participation?
No, let me publicly apologize for that. And the truth of the matter is that there was not enough civic engagement in terms of educating the public about the contents of the document. But that was to come at the point when we were putting the document before people for them to make a decision. You see, in the initial stages of constitutional review, what you're dealing with is the believers, the promoters, the supporters of that document.
Oh, not the doubters.
No, not the doubters, not the people who will make the final decision on the document.
Okay.
So initially, wale watu wamesainia ile document ni wase kama sasa mimi. Hiyo kitu naielewa through and through. Tungekuja tufike kwa hiyo stage ya referendum. Ndio sasa kwa sababu Kenyans need to make a decision, you make an informed decision. Right. Ilikuwa sasa ndio tuanze civic education at that point tukwambie tunaenda kupiga kura, these are the choices, yes or no, na this is why we think you should vote yes and this is why we think you should vote no. Civic engagement is something that is very critical in these civic activities. And we believe that honestly, if the court were to give us an opportunity and say you can now prepare for a referendum, not that we would do it differently, we would do what was now required to be done, because we had not been given the opportunity to actually conduct civic education.
Right.
Bona SG, as Kevin calls you, or Edu.
I'm sure calls him Edu.
Tufanye hivi next time una kuinvite hapa kwa sababu kuna session tunataka kufanya, we're going into an election and a lot of young people don't understand the value of being in a political party. So ndakuinvite tena, keep your diary open. Ukuje wambie watu what is the benefit of being a member of ODM.
Lakini neza brush tu dakika moja. Sasa kama saizi si tunafanya recruitment ya members na vile watu walituambia story ya COVID imefanya maisha kuwa ngumu, si tuliscrap membership fee yetu. Sasa kujoin ODM ni sare. Unaweza join kupitia mtandao ama utumie simu yako, unavinya tu hapo *483 alafu 036 hash. Inakupatia hiyo option na kuingia ni sare. There's a very critical benefit. Unaonaga saa ile tunaingia kwa election, kuna kuanga na process inaitwa nomination. So kuna candidates kawa 3 hapa hivi tunataka si wote tusimame kiti ya Embakasi South. Si ndio? Hiyo time tukiingia kuvote, kuchagua sasa candidate wa ODM, sometimes inakuanga very very critical ya kwamba ule mtu atapata ticket, unakuta tu anaenda kushinda election straight. So huwezi participate kwa hizo nomination kama wewe si member of a political party. Number 2, political parties provide an opportunity to learn from each other as opposed to kurun kama independent. So for instance, last election, the people who ran for elections, in number of candidates total 14,500. Out of those, 4,000 were independent candidates. It is very very difficult. You see, when you belong to a club, it gives you a support system. If you are running against a political party, like now you are an independent candidate in some place like Western Kenya where ODM is very strong, we have a support system there. We have gubernatorial candidates, we have senatorial. They put their resources together to support like you. For me, when I was running in Nairobi, we were walking around with the then governor candidate Kidero, with Pasaris. So you leverage on the strengths of each other and you're able to grow. You imagine traversing Nairobi alone as an independent. So the benefits for both ordinary members and for aspirants. And you need to join a political party that is organized. Not all political parties are the same.
I believe you. I believe you,
So sisi kama sahi, ukijoin party, unaweza ingia ODM Women League, because you see, women aspirants and even women members of political parties have unique needs. We have a Women League, we have a Youth League, we have the Disability League. We are the only political party that has a Disability League that is functional. Because the sort of support that a person with disability needs, even just now with this construction that is going on here, if we had a brilliant aspirant for senator or for governor in Nairobi who is on a wheelchair, how would you get them to this studio? Vibes.
Exactly. We have another elevator.
Political parties must think of those things, and we have thought about them, and that is why you need to join ODM. We are organized.
Why did ODM field a somebody for Kiamba?
No, we supported Jubilee.
All right. We got to end it there. Thank you so much, Edu Maze. Itabidi rudi, because your history, political parties, brush off, but we
brush off, umepitia haraka.
All right, thank you so much. Shout out to everybody who's using the hashtag Kwambox and Kev, and yeah,
we've loved everything, the engagement. Asante sana bwana SG. This is not the last time.
No, call me back again. It's musiko mnanialao naenda hiyo siding.
Sasa ni boring.
I'm going to play your song. I'm going to play a song kwa sababu leo lazima. Nilikwambia ukiingia studio yangu lazima
dance. Hiyo kudance tulikuwa tumeagree.
Nimeshakuwekea ngoma ya Kampo. Kumbuka hiyo days za Kampo.
Vibes Radio.